Hey, it's your boy Slide. Welcome to the channel. If I could get one of the beautiful people to give me a sound check. Let me know how it sounds this evening. If there's an echo or if too low, just let me know before we get started. Also ignore that date on the screen. I didn't have time to edit that, so apologies for that. But welcome everybody in the chat. Again, if you can, let me know how I sound before we get started. I don't want to get too far and nobody can hear me. All right, welcome anybody who's new to the chat. Please hit that like button on your way in. All right, loud and clear. Welcome to everybody here in the chat. We got it's B. We got Yan McSam. We got Wanda J. We got I love a hater. You keep me motivated. Good evening. The Truth. Hello, my friend. Darling Red. Good evening. I've made. Good evening. I have company, but we are here. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with tonight's chat. Now, the subject of tonight's chat basically is discussing the disasters that are going on in the United States right now and all the different interpretations I've heard about it. Some people say that it's the power of God. Other people say that it's the earth going through its normal phases. And I hear a lot more people attributing a lot of what's happening to the Mercury retrograde. Right now in the United States, we have rivers that are flowing backwards in Louisiana and Mississippi. As of today, there have been 1,267 tornadoes to hit the United States this year alone, as well as a slew of powerful earthquakes out west and seismic activity at Yellowstone that has not been reported to the public. So tonight I wanted to open up the chat and the phone lines so that I can hear some different opinions about your thoughts on what's going on right now in the United States as far as all these cataclysms and what you think it means in reference to prophecy, in reference to scripture, or your own personal beliefs. All right, checking out the chat. Simply Deep says, "Sup, Slide in the chat room. What's your content about so I know what questions to ask you in the future?" Simply Deep, my channel is very diverse. When I'm not talking about pop culture, movies, Star Wars, science fiction, the things that I personally enjoy as far as hobbies or entertainment, I also like to tackle issues surrounding black consciousness, um, the topics of the day, the things in the news that affect us, and getting the opinions of everyone. You don't have to be Kemetic, you don't have to be Hebrew Israelite, you don't have to be Christian, you don't have to be fraternal, Masonic, Shriner, Moore, or any of those things to have an opinion here. You can just be yourself, and nobody here is going to, we may have lively debate, but nobody here judges. There's nobody here to tell you that you're wrong, basically. But like I say, the floor is open for lively debate. So feel free to ask any questions, and we walk and chew gum at the same time. If something that wasn't on the agenda comes up and we enjoy talking about it, then that's the way the discussion goes. So you guys dictate the way the conversation goes on this channel. So good question. All right, we got Crockett's Corner in the building. Welcome to the chat. And if it's your first time here, I want to thank you for stopping by the channel. Uh, Recently, my most popular video just hit 1 million views, and that was the cat karma video I did about Cat Williams. Now, even though that's a very popular video, uh, this isn't the Cat Williams channel. Let's say I've discussed lot more different things, but I'm proud of that video. But I want you guys to know that, uh, regardless of that, um, the heart of my channel is being able to chat with you guys. So, anyway, keeping it moving to tonight's topic. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with all the Mercury retrograde talk, um, basically, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video, and this was produced by ABC. Now, the one thing that got me was ABC posted this on their science channel. Now, those of you who know the difference between astronomy and astrology, you know, astronomy is the study of the stars. Astrology is using the stars to predict the future and whatnot. I know that some Christians have a problem with astrology. I know some that swear by it. So first, let's listen to their definition of what retrograde actually means. And then let's come back and have a discussion about what retrograde means to you, if anything at all, or if you buy into the myth.
Recently, my social media pages have been full of tweets and posts of people talking about the Mercury retrograde. They're saying all these wacky things are happening because of it. But what even is a retrograde?
Has to do with the orbital relationships between Earth, Mercury, and the Sun, such that from our position on Earth, it looks like the planet is moving in reverse direction through the sky for a period of time.
It's sort of like when you're on a highway and driving past another car. If you're driving fast enough, it kind of looks like the car next to you is driving backwards. All right, now I know what you're thinking. What does this have to do with me? Well, astrology is the study of how stars and planets affect humans. So when something like this happens, astrologers take notice.
When we see a planet being retrograde, we look at that as meaning that there's some kind of inner review taking place.
It's really just an opportunity to revise, edit, and then push on. So it's a great time to look for lost items. It's a great time to reconnect with old friends.
And with this time of reflection can come some obstacles.
When it's going backwards, it's going to affect anything that you can associate with communication, but also, as an extension of that, it affects things like technology and even travel.
Communication breakdowns, transportation breakdowns. You have those days where it's like one thing after another, you know, things breaking down or not going the way that you intended them to go.
But Mercury isn't the only planet that retrogrades. They all do. So why do we make such a big deal about this one? Well, this retrograde happens pretty frequently, about 4 times a year. Here's the thing. The world will not end every time Mercury retrogrades, or any other planet for that matter. And whether you believe in astrology or not, there are some lessons you can learn during this astrological time.
No one is out here saying like Mercury is retrograde, therefore this will happen. You know what I mean? That's like saying it's raining, therefore you will have a baby today. That doesn't happen, but people are like, it's raining, so maybe you should take an umbrella.
So as the retrograde continues, stay observant. You never know what could happen.
Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe.
Okay. Now, I love my beautiful natural sister in that video. You know, cute girl. But I don't know, as a believer in Yahweh Elohim, and just to be clear to my viewers, new subs, I do believe in what people call God, the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. And I do believe he sent a Messiah to save us from our sins. Now, do I prescribe to what most people call, quote-unquote, Christianity? Ooh, that's where I have some issues. But again, I believe in the Creator, and I don't remember anything in the Bible mentioning retrograde or astrology, but the Bible does say that there will be signs in the heavens and the earth and the stars and things like that. So are we to take that literally, that um, that these things have power, or is it just hocus pocus stuff that really doesn't have any meaning to our personal lives? I'd like to hear from the chat on this one. And there may be a slight lag or delay in the response, so that's understandable. It is YouTube, so I'll be patient while everybody chimes in and gives their opinion on this, because some of the most uh, beautiful spirits I've ever met, the most harmless, nicest people that will give you the shirt off your back, some of them actually use tarot cards and believe in their signs, whether they be Virgo or Pisces or whatever. They believe that that holds power. So again, I'd like to hear from the chat. Do you give any precedence to all this talk about retrograde and planets moving in reverse and the disasters that are happening, the things that are happening in people's personal lives because of retrograde? All right, just catching up with the chat here. All right, and don't be shy. Catching up with the chat, Wanda J says, quotes Proverbs 10, verse 25. When the storm has swept by, the wicked are gone, but the righteous stand firm forever. 10, verse 25. When the storm has swept by, the... Now that I believe wholeheartedly. The righteous do stand firm regardless of what's happening around us. But one thing we do want to do is understand what it all means, which leads me to my next question on this topic. Do you think that there's such a thing as global warming? Now, a lot of the rivers that are rising, like say right now, there are rivers running backwards in Louisiana, which if that's not scary enough, the Mississippi has actually ran backwards only 3 times in history. Once in 1812. But let's talk about what happened with Hurricane Katrina. Back in 2005, the Mississippi rolled backwards for like a few hours. It went up 4 meters, 13 feet higher than normal, and actually went backwards for a few hours. Now, in 2012, the Mississippi River ran for 24 hours in reverse. The force from Hurricane Isaac was so strong that the river, moving at 5,200 cubic meters per second, I mean, if you're keeping track, that's more powerful than the Mississippi normally flows downstream, downhill normally. So, do you think that this is because of global warming, or do you think global warming's a myth? All right, going back to the chat. Patrick Ambrose says, new to the channels, new to me, I'm all ears. Crockett's Corner says, as a reader, yes and no. I wouldn't make any major decisions based on a reading or planetary alignment. Hey, I see a lot of people that seem like Crockett, that they get stifled by those decisions. One of my favorite channels that I listen to is the True Royal Family. And if you're not familiar, every time she starts her videos, she's like, how's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. That's kind of her trademark. I love that sister. But she puts a lot of stock in retrograde. And she believes that it dictates certain aspects of her life. Me being a realist, how does a planet umpteen million miles away from Earth have any kind of pull on what's going on at my job or in my home. You know, that little rock is going to float around the sun like it has since the beginning of time, and it's going to be out there when I'm long gone. How does that have any effect on my personal life? All right, going back to the chat. Truth says global warming is real. Something they never talk about is the fact that that the glacier caps melt. It's changing the temperature of the ocean, killing fish species, and changing ocean. And think about the impact too when these rivers are running in reverse. You got all that salt water infiltrating fresh water, where you have dolphins and sharks and starfish. You got them in the same water with the bass, the catfish, and the pike. So something there has got to give, and it's going to have long-term effects. What about the drinking water? So yeah, I'm with you, Truth. I believe that global warming is a real thing. You can't put this much pollution in the air and not think that something bad is not going to happen. I mean, that thinking is asinine, but now it's become political. Now, if you're a liberal, you believe there's global warming. If you're conservative, you think it's a hoax. No, it's not a hoax. You can see things for yourself. Thank you for posting that number, darling Red. That's sweet of you. I'm gonna open up the calls before we close the topics tonight, so everybody can get their questions ready and think about what they want to say when they call in. So I really appreciate that. That call-in number is 605-313-5654. And I'm also going to share the extension once I open up the call-in lines. All right, the Truth in the chat says there's a line where the salt water and fresh water meet. In the last 10 years, that line has moved miles. And again, that's very, very scary. You look at those polar ice caps melting, and you can see them crumbling, falling apart. That water has to go somewhere. You have cities like Venice that are already underwater, and you have cities like Miami that within the next 20 to 25 years may not be the Miami we know. Louisiana, around that area, around Lake Pontchartrain, may not be recognizable in the next 25 years along with the next bad storm. And that's something that we should really think about, handing our future off to our kids and our grandkids, thinking about what we want for them. I really find it hard to support the current liberal agenda, but I'm not a conservative either, But liberals are putting gay rights and abortion and all these other things over the things that are actually killing us right now. They want to take over social justice matters, but we have life and death matters right here that we need to focus on and pay attention to. All right, welcome to the chat. Yolanda is Yolanda. Shout out to all the regulators in the chat. And if you don't know who the regulators are, I'll make sure to break it down before the end of the video. Now, the next thing I wanted to share with you this evening was the actual rivers flowing backwards and what causes that to happen. Now, this has happened again a few different times in history, but not right back to back. So let's see what something like that looks like, because mainstream media has not talked about this a lot. So I want to make sure that we get a full understanding of this. So heads up for the next video.
Saturday, July 13th, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 2019. Something you don't see here every day, guys. A river just east of Slidell. Looks like it's flowing backwards. Young lady by the name of Catherine noticed the Pearl River flowing from south to north, more than likely courtesy of Tropical Storm Barry and the storm surge that's associated with the strong inland flow from this storm as it's making landfall, basically as I'm doing this video. So the moisture now is probably on its way inland. It's been way out in the central Gulf for the most part of this storm's duration. It's now moving inland, and so is water. It appears that the Pearl River, right in this area here, east of Slidell, I know Lake Pontchartrain has been very active, which sits right here. Mandeville is flooded. A lot of this area along the northeastern shore of Lake Pontchartrain is flooded. Don't know about Slidell itself, but here's the Pearl River. The young lady that sent me this video was standing right here. In fact, I'm going to take you to that location right here on Google Earth. She's looking to the east, filming this river as it's flowing to her left, which would be to the north. In this video, you're going to see this bridge. You're going to see that little outbuilding right there. There's a house across the street from this river that's flowing backwards, courtesy of this tropical storm. So we're going to come up to the waterway. There's the bridge, and normally the water flows from left to right. That would be to the south down into the Gulf of Mexico. Flows this direction. Okay, she's standing right here. You're going to see this little outbuilding here, whatever that is. You're going to see that house across the river right there. And here's the video that she shared with me. I'm going to share it with you. And also a big double halo rainbow right over here at Bay St. Louis, Mississippi at the end of this video. Really cool. But seeing this river flow backwards is just not something that you see every day. And she's standing right here. And this is the river that's being pushed inland. And it looks like it's a direct side effect of the storm surge. That's the way I perceive what you're about to see in this video. So here she's standing right here. And there's that outbuilding. There's the bridge. This is facing east. This is facing north. Or this is looking to the north. And this would be south. And the river normally runs from left to right. You're going to see the river flowing from right to left. That would be to the north. So she walks down to the river, and that's what she sees. That's why she took the video, because it didn't look right. It's being pushed to the north. And I'm sure it's not the only waterway in these areas. I know Lake Pontchartrain is being pushed up out of its banks. Mandeville is flooded, which is just to the north of this area here. This river does definitely appear to be flowing to the north. You can hear the wind blowing in the background. That's why I turned the volume down to pretty much zero. The wind was howling. From the onshore flow from Tropical Storm Barry, it does look like this river. This is the Pearl River at Pearlington, Mississippi. Flowing backwards. This is just east of Slidell. And this is also just east of, there's that house I was talking about. I just showed you in Google Earth right there. So this is the location looking to the east. So this water should be flowing the other direction. Should be flowing left to right. It's flowing right to left. So it definitely does indeed look like it's flowing backwards. And that would be a direct result of this storm pushing the water inland. Very far inland. So the storm's not over yet. It's just now making landfall. Most of the precipitation associated with this storm has always been on the south end of this storm. It's been kind of an odd tropical storm, a lopsided one at that. So now the moisture associated with this storm is beginning to make its way inland. And it's going to start raining probably fairly heavy after dark and during the overnight hours tonight. But here's just a rare look of a river flowing backwards. Like I said, you don't see this very often, and I want to thank Catherine for sharing this video with me. And I wanted to share it with you guys. She also sent me some pictures from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, of a lighter side of this storm, a very impressive double rainbow right there. Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.
All right, everybody. So, what did you take from that video? Like I say, when I heard about the rivers running backwards, not gonna lie, it kind of scared me. Well, I'm not gonna say scared me, but it opened my eyes to how wild everything has been this year. So going back to the chat, Again, welcome Yolanda. Is Yolanda? She states in the chat, this weather is weird. It was in the 50s here until the end of June, and now it's 85. On that same note, Yolanda, I have a friend in Denver who said that it was snowing in June. Or was it May? I believe it was late May, early June. Crockett states in the chat, I live in Pennsylvania. The weather is weird here. Many tornadoes where we haven't seen them. Now, uh, Darling Red and I are from the same hometown here in Southwest Georgia, about as far west as you can get actually without being in Alabama. And our area had an outbreak in March. I want to say it was like March 12th or 13th. We had an outbreak of tornadoes here between Alabama and Georgia, right in our backyard. And I have friends whose homes were devastated, who are still uh, feeling the effects of that storm from March, and the area still hasn't recovered. But it reminded me of a Bible verse that I had read, Luke 21, verse 11, and it states, "And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven." Uh, One thing you can't ignore is that, along with these retrograde events that have become more popular uh, as time has gone on, is that we've had more total solar and lunar eclipses happen in the past, I want to say 3 to 4 years worldwide than we've seen. And again, Revelations also mentions uh, in scripture about the sun becoming black as sackcloth and the moon being as blood, with the same phenomena that happens with solar and lunar eclipses. All right, going back to the chat, uh, Yolanda says, why doesn't POTUS believe in global warming? The truth says the force of the storm had a river 100 miles away affected. That's the part I'm talking about, Truth. The impact, the full impact on the whole area. You know, when you see it on the news, you think it's just happening in one city, one town, but these rivers run, like you say, for hundreds of miles. And when the water is running back up to the lake it came from, that is actually defying gravity, because nature has it where rivers run downhill by nature. So imagine the force it takes to reverse that. Is just totally unbelievable. All right, Yolanda says, totally believe it. I fought with myself for not turning the heat on in June. The farmers had less than 48 hours to plant crops or they would fail. Those who planted only 58% successful. And Patrick Ambo says, looks like they mentioned rivers that flow backwards in 2012. Well, art imitates life, and a lot of time art predicts these things that happen better than any prophet. But again, I'm glad that we're able to have this platform and share this information, because, like I say, the mainstream news isn't gonna talk about this stuff. So again, is this just natural phenomena, or is this America getting her just due? Hmm. Now, some would say that because of America's foreign policy, her drugs, her chemicals, her wars, her weapons, her lies on the world stage, and the tyrant that we have in office right now, that America's being punished for what our government and and what our military has done to the indigenous people all over the world since there's been a United States. So how many of you put stock in the fact that this is revenge from Most High for the way that America has treated God's children around the world. I tell you what, I have someone who is a better authority than me on these subjects. But before I cue up that video, I did want to talk a little bit about Yellowstone. Now, what's happening at Yellowstone? Yellowstone uh, volcano, they call it a state park. Yellowstone volcano is more active now than it's been in thousands of years. In the past few weeks, they've closed certain parts of the park, won't allow anyone to drive through, even in a vehicle. They won't allow anybody to camp. Now, the scariest part about the Yellowstone situation, this Yellowstone supervolcano, is that the government is no longer allowing amateur drone flights over the caldera. Now, why wouldn't they allow civilian scientists or just hobby guys, a guy that just bought a drone, to fly over a national park? Where years ago you could drive your car through there, you could roast weenies out there, you could go hunting, fishing, whatever you wanted to do. But when certain pockets started opening up, geysers, steam pockets, hot spots, parts of the road started melting away, they knew that the volcano was showing activity again. But now it's so bad that they don't want anyone taking photographs because they are afraid it may cause a panic. All right, going back down to the chat. They dumb things down for the public. This is Yolanda, by the way. I believe that it's a bit of both. The government hides things from us. I don't trust them at all. I believe that everything we do affects nature. The truth says they still don't know the effect that two nuclear meltdowns have, the one in Russia and Japan. Don't forget 3 Mile Island, truth. There's been 3 major nuclear meltdowns in the past, 30 years. You had Chernobyl. You had I believe it was the Fukushima site in Japan. And then you had 3 Mile Island right here in the United States. Yolanda says they're hiding stuff in there. And Crockett's Corner says, yes, the lowest vibrational state of the planet thus far, which may have ignited the end of times. When you say the lowest vibrational state, where I'm at on my spiritual path, that means a lot to me. Because I know what it's like to deal with high frequency vibration people versus low frequency vibration people. When I watch reality shows, when I watch Maury, when I watch Jerry Springer, when I do watch those shows, you see the low frequency vibration happening right in front of you. You see it in the kids. You see it in everyday life. You see it when Trump. You saw it when Trump got elected. Come on. These are some of the least educated people on the planet Earth that have the most voting power. Darling Red says, living proof these are last days, Book of Revelation. Yeah, there's wars, there's rumors of wars. There are countries coming together that normally wouldn't. You know, they're trying to, even England's trying to break away from the European Union because they know the implications. All right, in the chat, Patrick says Geo Lounge. They said it did the same thing. Hurricane Katrina 2005. They don't want it. They don't want you to expose issues arising in Yellowstone. Yeah, Crockett's Corner, Patrick Ambrose. I share your sentiment that daytime TV reality shows are garbage. I refuse to let that garbage in my house. But I do go places where I go and people watch these shows religiously. I'm like, what do you get out of this? They talk about incest and and Steve Wilco, he's worse of the worst. That's gutter trash. At one point, I thought it was entertainment, and I called it that, and I said, "Oh, these people are just acting or whatever." These people on these shows now have social media accounts. They put their Instagram and their Facebook links or their Twitter links right there on the TV by their name, so that you can go straight to your phone, type their name in, and pull them up. So these are real people, and it's you know I'll be glad when Messiah comes and wipes all of this clean. I honestly will. I don't want a front row seat to watch it happen. I'm not going to tell that lie. All right, Wanda J says, when rivers run backwards, there are waves created that push back the water flow, giving the illusion of the flow reversing being blocked by rocks. Yeah, Wanda, that's how it was explained as well. But still, even the illusion of a river running backwards and the power that it takes for those storm surges, which is actually what's causing that. The surge from the storm is more powerful uh, than the stream flow. And yes, I don't think there's anything that can change physically the flow of a river, but the amount of power that would take to even cause that storm surge again is uh, unfathomable. When there for 300 or 400 years you never heard of anything like that happening, and all of a sudden now it's getting worse. A 100-year storm happens every 2 or 3 years. I love a hater says, I stopped watching all that stuff. I can't blame you. Darling Red says, slide people say Messiah already here. I guess I'm looking for the one that's ready to go to war. My Messiah that I'm waiting on, you know, is the one that will bring vindication against the enemy. That's going to ride on the enemy. And it's not going to be pretty. They say that the meek shall inherit the earth, such and such, but there will be a war. And when that war happens, I want to be on the side of the Messiah. That's the one I'm waiting on. All right, in the chat said, Darling Red says, God said earth will not be destroyed by water again. These are many signs. Now every day is something new. I died and woke up. I am God's chosen, and that's why enemies always fighting me. Yeah, Darling Red, it's true. God's children don't have it easy. There's not a prophet in the Bible that did not suffer a horrible, horrible death. And even worldwide right now, there are people being sacrificed for their conviction to God, or being shunned, or constantly have the enemy coming into their life. That's where dealing with higher vibration people comes in. Now here's one of those walk and chew gum moments. So going to go off topic a little bit, but dealing with higher frequency vibration people, you keep good positive vibes around you from people that are building and building with you, building alongside you. You find that the devil creeps in less and less, and you find more moments of joy in your life. Some people call it karma. Some people call it chakras or energy or whatever. Like I say, during my spiritual awakening, I found a lot of peace in, I guess, avoiding petty shit or the people that surround themselves with petty shit. That's what one of the things that attracted me to the regulators, which again we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. In the chat, Darling Red says, "I'm God's chosen." That's why. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I read that. Man is destroying the earth every day, which is true. Lord, I ask, why is it so hard? I pray for my people, even though my enemies, which aren't many. Truth says, as the water becomes warmer, more moisture is released in the air. This is causing effects we've not seen before. And truth, think about this. We've been on this road since, I would say, the 20s when we tried cloud seeding. Now, if you've never heard of cloud seeding, this is a real thing. During the Dust Bowl, the United States government wanted to try to find a way to make it rain. So they created this concoction, sprayed it out of airplanes, and guess what? It rained. They tried it again in the 1960s when they were fighting the Viet Cong in Vietnam. And if you give me a minute, I'll find the name of that operation so that you can look it up so you don't think I'm just telling you anything. That's one thing you can do on this channel. You can fact check me. Give me 1 second here. And if anyone else here knows the answer, I'll give you a digital cookie. Okay, the operation was Operation Popeye. So, do you think the government stopped these experiments? And the Vietnam thing, when the Viet Cong were hunkered down in those jungles, they tried napalm to burn them out. When that didn't work, they tried to use rain to flood the trails. And guess what? It worked. They caused an extended monsoon season, especially over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. If you don't believe it, you can look it up on Wikipedia, or you can pull up the unclassified documents at the Library of Congress. This caused landslides, it caused river crossings to wash out, and it made the soil stay wet longer than it was supposed to, meaning that they couldn't grow their rice. Yo, we got Spook TV in the chat. Glad to have you here, brother. To get you caught up on the discussion, and for anybody that is new here, we're discussing 2019 and all the cataclysms that have hit the United States this year. Some people blame global warming. Some people say it's natural phenomena. Some people blame the Mercury retrograde. So far, we went over information about what retrograde means. We've also looked up videos in reference to the rivers running backwards in Louisiana due to, seeming to run backwards due to the tropical storms. And like I say, that should get you caught up where we're at right now. The call-in number is coming, Spook. I'm going to play another video. This one is going to be from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We've looked at this from a scientific approach. We've looked at this from an astrological approach. Now, we're going to look at it from a more or less spiritual approach. All right, before I go to the Honorable Minister, we're going back to the chat. Yolanda says, I find peace in fighting for the underdog and for those that, for whatever reason, can't fight for themselves. Serving others makes my own suffering easier. No, it didn't stop. The government stopped telling us. That's true. I believe that anyway. Darling Red says this is worldwide destruction. Hey, Spook, call in I'm opening up the call-in line soon. Just give me a minute after we play that video. There'll be a music break, and then I'm going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to discuss whatever you guys want to talk about, whether it be this retrograde thing, uh, the weather, these cataclysms, and ask the question: is it nature? Is it God? Is this America's punishment? Or is this a sign of things to come? Or do we just sit back and ignore it all and say it's going to be okay? Again, I like to refer to higher powers than myself. So give me a few seconds here, and I'm going to cue up that video by the Honorable Minister. Wait, and before I do that, I did want to go over that information about Yellowstone. I didn't want to miss that. So for those of you that aren't aware about Yellowstone, again, it's active again, and it's due to erupt as far as time frames go. Hundreds of thousands of years have passed since that caldera has exploded, and it's past due, and it's showing more activity than it has in years. So let's get the lowdown on that first, and then I'll come back on the line.
When I say the word supervolcano, what do you immediately think of? Yellowstone? Mount Vesuvius? Just a terrifying image of a gigantic lava-spewing monstrosity? So what exactly is it? By definition, a supervolcano is capable of creating a volcanic eruption with an ejecta volume higher than 240 cubic miles, which is actually 1,000 times greater than the average volcanic eruption. Supervolcanoes also have a larger size compared to typical volcanoes. They are flat and have natural depressions that are seen on the ground, unlike composite volcanoes which have steep sides. Even the calderas are so huge that some of them can be seen from space. The formation of supervolcanoes occurs when magma from the core is stagnant in the Earth's mantle but unable to break through to the crust. As the pressure builds up, it forms a pool of hot, glowing magma until the crust can no longer contain it. These eruptions could destroy cities, cover enormous regions with volcanic ash, lead to major food shortages, and drastically change our climate, just to name a few. Sure, there are only a handful of these supervolcanoes in the world, and eruptions are typically hundreds of thousands of years apart. But what if I told you that one of the biggest supervolcanoes is actually overdue for an explosion? The Yellowstone supervolcano is located inside Yellowstone National Park in the western United States. Its caldera measures about 45 by 34 miles, covering a majority of the northwest corner of the state of Wyoming. The deadly heat contained inside this giant currently powers all the famous attractions inside the park, such as the geysers, hot springs, and mud pots that over 4 million visitors go to see every single year. According to the scientists from the University of Utah, the magma reserve underneath the Yellowstone supervolcano is actually much larger than previously estimated. We knew that the magma chamber inside Yellowstone is about 3 to 9 miles below the Earth's surface, but according to a new report, the magma chamber is 2.5 times greater in volume, which measures 90 kilometers in length and up to 70 kilometers in depth. This could fill the Grand Canyon as many as 14 times. This supervolcano is estimated to erupt every 600 to 700,000 years. The last eruption was 640,000 years ago, so technically the volcano could erupt tomorrow or in 60,000 years. That's reassuring. That eruption created a giant crater 1,500 square miles in area. It was 2,500 times the size of the historic Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980. If an eruption was indeed imminent, the movement of the magma through the crust would first of all trigger hundreds or thousands of earthquakes in the days, weeks, and months leading up to the final event. If the Yellowstone caldera erupted, the magma would spread across a 30 to 40 mile radius, destroying everything in its path. And that's just the beginning. Based on a study in 2014, 3 feet of volcanic ash would cover the surrounding states of Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Colorado, which holds a population of more than 8.85 million people, leaving much of the Midwest under a deadly dark blanket that would kill plants and animals, crush roofs, and destroy electrical circuits. But immediate destruction aside, farms would be polluted, waterways would be clogged, and this would cause a major food shortage. The cold ash raining down could affect as far as 500 miles, even dozens dusting New York City with a thin layer of ash. The ash would also block sunlight and cause a major drop in global temperatures that would last a few years. Seems like the end of humanity is near, doesn't it? Well, not exactly. That's just half of the story. The rest is much more hopeful. Based on a report by the U.S. Geological Survey, there should be no eruption from Yellowstone anytime soon. With the help of NASA scientists and experienced engineers, a plan is being devised that would divert the volcano's heat to prevent a possible eruption. NASA's plan to delay the super eruption is to make a hole in the side of the volcano and pump water through it. This would slowly cool down the volcano as the water is heated and comes back out. If given enough time to complete the process, the NASA team could take enough heat from the volcano to prevent it from ever erupting again. They also propose to make use of the heated water by utilizing it as a source of geothermal energy that could possibly fuel the entire Yellowstone region. The idea of a geothermal generator could yield energy at about 10 cents per kilowatt hour, which is not as expensive as some other energy sources. This clever plan proposed by NASA removes the deadly threat for a large population while at the same time provides a long-term energy source for the region. But it may take hundreds and thousands of years to neutralize this volcano. Talk about long-term planning. This idea is still a work in progress that NASA is hoping to solidify and implement as soon as possible in order to lower the risks of having a supervolcano eruption. So don't worry, the supervolcano doesn't seem like it's gonna erupt anytime soon, contrary to many recent media reports. But if you're still wary, experts are closely watching the Yellowstone supervolcano and providing the public with monthly updates. If anything strange starts happening, you can directly view it on the USGS website. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed this video, please let us know by giving it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to our channel and click that little notification bell below. There's new content every single week, so make sure you don't miss it. See you next time!
All right, everybody. So, what are your thoughts on Yellowstone? And let's all, just for fun, do a what-if scenario. What do you think the biggest impact would be on your life if, for some reason, Yellowstone, way out west, which I know some of you guys are in California and in the mountain region. What do you think the main impact on your life would be? Do you think prices would go up for groceries? Do you think that it would cause a problem for the air that we breathe here, or no impact at all? It's too far away from us to care, so it doesn't bother me. What would your initial thoughts be when you turn on CNN and they say that Yellowstone has erupted and the casualties haven't been counted yet? There's a cloud of ash over 4 states. Planes have been grounded. All travel from Canada has been suspended. The president is in a secure location. When the whole shit goes down. All right, going back to the chat. Darling Red says, yes, it's been going on for many years. They're trying to make humans targets. Yolanda says, plus it's not the only volcano to worry about. The ones that are not being watched could be an issue. That is true. I was looking up some geological surveys earlier, and there are several active volcanoes. A lot of them are like in Chile, Peru, a lot of South American places. But Mount St. Helens went off in the 80s, and it was huge. And now there's a lot more people in that area that would be affected if Mount St. Helens were to explode again in our lifetime. And then think of all those fault lines. I believe Truth mentioned it in the chat a little earlier, said that if Yellowstone erupted, it would affect 2 fault lines. Look at the trouble they're having right there on that fault line between Vegas and LA right now. You don't think that stuff is connected at all? Yolanda says, I'll wait to see. What else can I do? I can clean the air. I can't grow food without the sun. I can't make water. I'll protect myself and my family as much as possible until the end, bad or good. Uh, Spook says, what's the number? Let me see. Got that number posted. Darling Red put it in the chat earlier, but I'm going to repeat it again, and I'll have it on the screen uh, when I open up the phone lines. So guys, please save that energy, save your questions. I will make sure that you guys have a chance to chat on the live chat when you get ready to call in. So True, Spook, Darling Red, anybody that wants to call in, that number is 605-313-5645. Go ahead and program that number, and I'll have the lines open shortly. All right. We're going to take a brief music break, and then we'll get a word from Minister Farrakhan, and then I'll open up the phone lines. So we'll take a quick music break, and I'll be right back. I also need to take care of a couple of technical things, so if you hear silence, it's all good. I'm still here. Just give me a few seconds to clear a few things up.
When I say the word supervolcano, what do you immediately think of? Yellowstone, Mount Vesuvius? Just a terrifying image of a gigantic lava-spewing monstrosity? So what exactly is it? By definition. When I say the word supervolcano, what do you
New York warrior, hate your face. NJ warrior, hate your face. CT warrior, hate your face. You hate your face. I hate your face. Boston warrior, hate your face. Providence warrior, hate your face. Cleveland warrior, hate your face. You hate your face. I hate your face. DC warrior, hate your face. VA warrior, hate your face. My Cackalack warrior, hate your face. You hate your face. I hate your face. We dance like Indians. The ritual will spin a crew, bring them in. Hold this for you, twist it through, let them live with the pain of a million men that tell me what it is. Sunshine or rain, never beg a friend. Liberated, niggas hate it, that's my medicine. Fuck friendly, bench jeeps with the leather trim. I'm 10 deep, stack chips, king me moving in. Jalapenos, Costi, Christine with the tin. All across boards, all aboard, y'all spit a gem. Leave you cockeyed, lopside, boy feel the win. Win. Push your balls in your stomach, forfeit and run it. Last days, blast trays, y'all niggas done it. Speak no, see no, hear no. Evos like vehicles with a den in them. Feminine, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy, cry like babies when I'm hemming them. Vocally, broke them up like Jodeci. Fine cuts like kosher meats. Dead them like coastal beef. Forget about it. I spit my verses grinning while the earth is spinning with perverted women. Her like kittens, turn over easy like German engine. Paint face, dog. 8 bars, shine like quasars. Sick like gay stars. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Craft this for bastards, fuck with us. Declare ruckus, we spare chuckers with blowguns. Mighty like Joe Young, white beat gets so dumb. Explosion from Brooklyn to Leningrad, holding a pen and pad. Rocking a vibe that leave venom mask. Hazardous, carry this rhyme to your tombstone. Imagine this, damage shit. While like a group home got war paint. From cheekbones to earlobes, make a crowd of fools. Shut it down and move, there go. If the flesh is weak, then rest in peace, die slow. Lord, last one standing, king of survival. King of survival, king of survival. My N.O. warrior, my Texas warrior, ATL warrior, you hate your face, I hate your face. My Chi-Town warrior, my Michigan warrior, Milwaukee warrior, you hate your face, I hate your face. Arizona warrior, my LA warrior, my Oregon warrior, you hate your face, I hate your face. My East Coast warrior, my Dirty South warrior,
right, everybody, I'm back. And I invite you all to hit that like button on your way in. Really appreciate your support for the channel tonight. Shout out to the regulators. Brief history on the regulators. A few months ago, I was reached out to by this blogger, woman, person, clout chaser by the name of Essie Berry. For those of you who don't know that name, good for you. Those who do know exactly what I'm talking about. Those who don't, let me give you just a brief introduction. This woman is the 6th ex-wife of Fred Rerun Berry, the guy that used to do the funny dance with the hats, kind of chubby guy, was on What's Happening and was on Soul Train a few times and was in this dance group up in New York. Very talented brother, unlike his 6th ex-wife, who has done everything she can to use his name for fame. Well, just so happens this woman has a vendetta against Steve Harvey. So, one day I check my email and I get this cryptic message out of the blue that required a password to get to. So I like a good mystery, so I said, sure, send me the password or the link or whatever. I open the link, and lo and behold, I have Steve Harvey's entire divorce decree from his wife, Mary. All his properties in Texas, last 4 digits of account numbers, ATVs, Range Rovers, all kinds of cars, trucks, properties, all over Texas. So I wondered what this was all about, so I went to Essie's channel. And there I found 700 to 800 videos about Steve Harvey, her problem with him, and her accusations against him. Well, I found out, just doing my own investigation, that this woman was she's full of crap, right? And I met this group of people who have been actively fighting against this dishonest conspirator. And this group of people called the regulators, headed up by these awesome guys named D-Truth and a gentleman by the name of Spook on Spook TV. They've actually formed a coalition of good people to stop Essie Berry from telling these lies and taking advantage of people. So shout out to the regulators. They've shown nothing but love to my channel. I like what they do as far as trying to stop people from being taken advantage of and being lied to. And I have more fun with the regulators in their live chat, whether it be Spook hosting or one of the other members, than I have on any other channel. So shout out to the regulators. Anytime you hear me mention them now, you know you have a reference, see what I'm talking about. So shout out to you guys. All right, that call-in number is coming up. We're going to listen to Minister Farrakhan's opinion on the natural disasters happening here, and then I'd be happy to open up that phone line, and I'll have it posted on the screen.
You are not going to let us go. So God is going to contend with you. I don't think you can win that one. For the scripture says, He has treasured up snow in the north for that great day of battle. You haven't seen snow like you're going to see it. You can't fight God and win. He turns nature.
All right, now I'm not
When
sure.
I say the word supervolcano,
Not sure what happened to the minister, but we'll go ahead and open up those phone lines. Let me get dialed in myself. That number is 605-313-5654. This is a conference call line, so you may hear some annoying music in the background. You have to ignore that. Again, that's 605-313-5654. And the code tonight to dial in is 351-734. All right, I'm just getting dialed into the Meet Me line. All right, you guys can go ahead and try to dial in. Again, the line is open. All right, Spook, Truth, if you're still there, you can go ahead and try to call in. Again, the number is 605-313-5683. That may be a new number, so again, I apologize. Let's try that again. Let's try this number. 605-313-5683. I'm using a program called Free Conference Call, and it looks like they gave me a new number. I apologize for that. The new access code is 212734. Okay. Now the lines are open. 605-313-5683. The access code is 212734. Hey, who do we have on the line?
We got Spook behind the building.
All right, Spook. Make sure everybody can hear you this evening. Welcome to the chat. And give us your thoughts on tonight's chat. Give us your thoughts on how you feel about all this talk about retrograde and God's wrath, and maybe it's just nature, and or the earth going through its normal cycles. How do you feel about what's happening right now in these times?
Can you hear me first of all? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear. Chat, let me know if you can hear Spook.
Yeah.
But I got you loud and clear, brother. Speak on it.
Yeah, well, let's make sure the chat got it, cause it ain't gonna make no difference if me and you talking and the chat can't hear it.
Right,
So
right.
does the chat hear it? Can the chat hear it?
Let me check the chat real quick. Okay, it says some of them say some of them say loud and clear. I think you have to keep talking, Spook. Some of them say they
Alright, so what was the question again?
what are your thoughts? Some people, as far as the global warming situation, whether that's a hoax or something we should be worried about. All this bad weather that we're seeing, is it all a coincidence? Is it the power of God? Is it just nature taking its course? I feel like Truth also brought up some points as far as the earthquakes in Alaska, how they changed the landscape and the environment. But just give us your thoughts on the whole thing, whatever you're thinking.
What you think though? What you think? What you think this is first before I even answer anything? What you think this is? Seriously. No bullshit. No lie. What do you think all this is? You think it's a coincidence? Or you think it's judgment?
I think it's signs to judgment. I believe that every time a country, a president, a government goes too far off kilter, that the Creator has a way of humbling them. And there hasn't been a society on this earth that hadn't been wiped out at some point, whether it be flood or like the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans. All of a sudden their people just disappear from the face of the earth, without any warning or without any without anything to indicate they were barely here. So yeah, I believe that God, Yahweh, has a way of humbling man. And he's done it several times through history, every time man got out of pocket.
So why can't the rest of humanity get that? Current humanity get that? If you get that, how come they can't get that? Why?
I honestly think it's because they are too distracted with bullshit. They have people, like I say about the reality shows, that people like to be entertained. They like to be distracted. CNN can get on there and talk about Trump 20 times a day and never tell you that there's a storm coming to your city, or that there was a riot in China, or that there was an earthquake in Brazil. They don't report the news anymore because they don't want us to be informed. So when you have people that don't seek outside sources of information, like the black media, for instance, we are you, me. I'm sorry, me, you, Truth. We are the black media. There are things that we'll talk about on our platform that the news won't talk about, that the black folks on the news, that Roland Martin, that Tariq Nasheed, these guys all have an agenda. But there's still a handful of people out there that are unbiased, who give the real. And what I do on my platform, I like to give people the facts and then the opinion. Watch the news article first. Listen to the scientists first. Fact check first. And then let's give our opinions on how we think. And I like hearing the different opinions, because if I lived in a vacuum, where everybody agreed with me, I wouldn't learn anything new. So I have to reach out to these different platforms to get the real news. Okay. Now, as far as how I'm going to live, if, with these cataclysms, these storms, tornadoes, earthquakes, what have you, we've always made it as black people through tragedies and stuff, so none of it actually scares me. I don't have a fear of it, but I do respect God, and I believe His justice comes swift nowadays. It doesn't take days and weeks for God's justice to take hold. It's happening a lot faster nowadays. But these states that are getting hit with these cataclysms are still making stupid decisions about abortion, still making dumb decisions when it comes to black voter rights, still making dumb decisions. Let's say, Egypt, let my people go. That we saw this. We saw this in Exodus. So you don't want to believe it's happening now. Go right back to Exodus. You still there, Truth? What are we gonna do about it? For me.
Talk. Black folks so good at talking and so good at sounding intellectual. It's a shame. But when are we gonna produce the fruits that yields from the harvest, my brother? I'm trying to figure out when.
The fruit, Truth.
To plant some shit in order to goddamn harvest some shit, right?
The fruit.
You sow.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
The fruit, Truth, is our children. If we teach them what they need to know, as far as economics, as far as spirituality, we train them. Now, they're not going to be perfect, but we have to improve every generation. We had a generation of Bible thumpers in the late 1800s that if it didn't come out of the Bible, it wasn't right, and we couldn't barely read or write to begin with. But whatever the white man told us was good, and that's what we ran with. But we had a spirituality before then. We had a belief in God before then, before we ever got introduced to the King James Version of the Bible. What's that?
Do you know what that was? You said we had all that. We had spirituality. We had, what was that? Do you know?
Well,
do you remember?
I mean, from what aspect? Because, if you're looking at...
Do you remember what that was, though?
Not specifically.
We did. We had all that what you said. But do you remember? Do you remember that?
No, of course not.
Do you remember the exact practices and the exact rituals? Well, not rituals, but the exact customs.
Not at all. Not at all. And even as a Freemason, I sought to find the real word. I tried to find the ties that binded my ancient ancestors to modern man. I went on that journey.
Are you a Freemason?
No, not anymore. Not once I learned.
What you mean, not anymore?
I took the oaths and obligations of a Freemason, but.
Well, that's for life. You know that, my brother. So you really weren't a Freemason. That's what you're saying?
I'm saying that I took an oath and obligation as a young man who was naive, who was looking at Freemasonry from the eyes of my grandfather and the men that came before me, who were good men, who practiced Freemasonry in good faith. Now, it was the actions of other Freemasons, not their words, not going into meetings, not putting on a bow tie and carrying around a suitcase, but actually chopping it up with these guys outside the lodge that I saw that these are not my peers. Not the E9s, not the other guys who belong to other fraternities, not the sergeant majors and the colonels and stuff who I rubbed shoulders with. You know, these are men I held in high esteem until I saw how they lived in real life and the things that they held in high esteem. And it wasn't necessarily God. It wasn't necessarily the word.
Okay, and what I'm saying is, my brother, don't say Freemason. Don't mention that. Because you really weren't that. Because if you were a true Mason, that's for life. That's for life. It ain't nothing you can get out of. So don't say that.
Well, I mean, I can tell you this honestly because I have brothers that listen to my channel. So, you know, I have my worship for master.
They're not in the masonry that count. It's black Freemasonry and there's white masonry. All right? Black one don't count. That shit don't count. The white ones do.
Now, when you say count, here's how I look at it. Because I realize that there are charters that exist that say that these lodges are legit and these lodges are not legit. Now, from what I gathered from it, when we went to the Easter egg hunts and bikes, you know, putting the bikes together for kids, or when we raised money for widows who had lost husbands over in the desert during the war, you know, that's where we practice brotherhood, fraternity, and love for each other in our community. So outside of the esoteric knowledge and the degree work and the books that are not shared among lodges, there's a lot of secrets and a lot of work that Prince Hall Masons are not privy to that white Masons of a certain ilk are, because there are white clandestine lodges as too. All white lodges are not legitimate Masonic lodges, so I can't give them that much credit. You know, but as far as living,
Black lodges don't count. They don't count. You're right. You're right. And the black lodges definitely don't count, my brother. I'm just letting you know, bro. I'm just letting you know some shit. Don't get mad at me.
No. I mean, I have a great understanding about the Grand Lodge of England as opposed to the other.
They don't count all that boule and all that. Them motherfucking niggas ain't got no power. If they had power, why niggas in their current state right now? Ask yourself that question.
They're not using the power they have.
They never had the power. That's just a facade. That's just a cover.
But truth, when you're dealing with a sergeant major in the army, he's over, you know, an entire battalion of all the enlisted soldiers. When you've got a local congressman that sits in a district seat, he has power. When you're dealing with a CEO or a chief financial officer of a large corporation, you're dealing with very powerful brothers. And they're recognized for their power outside of Masons because they're leaders of men. You know, even in the police forces, the sheriffs. So to say that they don't have any power at all would be a misnomer, because some of the most powerful black men that exist, the most wealthy, the most higher up in law enforcement and military, are Masons. So how do you explain that?
How do I explain it?
Right.
I'm not the one that's trying to explain it, my brother. You are. I already know it.
Right. So enlighten those, enlighten the people in the chat that may not know. Right, because you know and I know, but the people in the chat may not know.
I'm going to be fair with you, my brother. I'm not going to indulge into that. I'm not going to say too much about that. But that's what it is.
No problem. And I understand your point of view, and I definitely respect it, because it's not the first time I've heard it. And in the grand scheme of things, when you got the royal families, the Bilderberg groups, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and people like that, yeah, it makes, you know, the Boule or any of these other groups just look like ants compared to these guys, you know, because they own.
It's insignificant. motherfuckers insignificant. I'm sitting there telling you. They insignificant. They don't matter. They don't fucking matter. They don't. It's a handful of motherfuckers that run this motherfucker. And I'm going to leave it like that.
Okay, then, so when it comes back to the discussion of reparations that we had the other day on your platform, if it's that saturated and we can't break through, then how can we expect the people that are in charge to want to?
First of all, niggas don't ever demand shit. Niggas don't demand shit. You got niggas on this channel, not your channel, my channel too, talking about other niggas don't deserve reparations. Now, niggas done had furniture and shit made out of them. They don't have chairs. They babies been fed to alligators. They've been separated from their homeland. They've been separated from their families due to slave owners selling them off. All these, they've been raped. They've been goddamn masters. It don't matter. You property. He gonna take it. If he wants you, you look good. He gonna take you. He gonna take you and you his. You his fucking property. And what you gonna goddamn do? Nothing. Nothing. So he gonna rape you. That's what it is. Rape you. Rape you and continue to rape you and have kids and multiple kids by you. Rape. That's right. So.
Right, but there has to be at some point a jump off point in history. Like I say, we've had Marcus Garvey.
You don't think those atrocities that you don't think that those are atrocities that need to be answered or looked at or addressed or compensated?
When you tell me that we have zero power as a people, no representatives, who's going to convince the powers that be that we're worthy? I mean, what motivation would they have to want to honor? Say again. I don't know. We've been marching and fighting and hollering, and I mean,
everybody both sides gonna die. You're gonna have death on both sides, my brother. That's what it is. And if you sit up here and think that I'm sitting up here goddamn lying, you ain't studied history. History tell you that shit, my brother. So don't sit up here and goddamn and play that game. If you study history like you supposed to, you would know. Bloodshed on both sides until somebody goddamn give up. That's what it is. That's what it always has been.
Right, Spook, but you gotta remember who got all the guns, bro. You gotta remember this fight that we're in.
Stop goddamn buying Nintendo and goddamn video games and shit and buy bullets. Buy guns. Start going out there training your kids. I don't want to hear no goddamn excuse. We got every goddamn excuse about how we can do some shit. Do it.
Well, I mean, violence is one way. I mean, most, like if you take Haiti, for example, you know, it took violent bloodshed for them to be free.
How you think bigger kingdoms overcome other kingdoms, bro? They is violent. They go in there, they take it. It's called goddamn command. It's called goddamn bitch. It's called goddamn. You go in there, you take that shit. Okay, we see some shit. We're gonna go take that shit.
Okay.
It's always been like that.
Right, but as a student of history, Spook, how did that help Haiti? When Haiti uprose When Tucson Louverture.
No, it helped them in the beginning. That wasn't why. That wasn't why Haiti failed. Haiti didn't fail because they overthrew the French. And no, they overthrew the French. That was good. What happened was all these white motherfuckers that owned all this goddamn shit, America, the Caribbean and shit, they said, we don't want to trade with them motherfuckers. Let's drown them out. Economic goddamn war. That's what happened, my brother. Don't sit up and look at it like, they black and they fail because they never forgot that shit. You had a black motherfucker, what's his name? Duchamp?
Yeah, Tucson Louverture.
You had him overthrow the goddamn French, Napoleon, ran all them motherfuckers off the goddamn island. All of them. They ain't never forgot it, bro. They never forgot that shit.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
oh my God, hey, nigga, a nigga killed all this. Oh my God, the queen. God save the queen. Not a nigga. Yeah, a nigga ran their ass up out that motherfucker. That's right. They don't teach it. They don't teach it. Slide. They don't teach that shit. They don't teach Nat Turner. Slide. They don't teach that shit. Nat Turner goddamn kids. See, they want to think Nat Turner has some goddamn. Nat Turner was your boy. He was your goddamn boy. He was a preacher. He was a nigga that was your go-to to keep all the other niggas in line. But he rebelled. He said, fuck that shit. And keep in mind, Nat Turner know how to motherfucking read.
but let me tell you this, too. Here's where I'm at with it, and I don't disagree with you. I believe in that black militant spirit. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong at all. But we have to have a clear picture of what victory is. Now, yes, overthrowing those white Frenchmen and having freedom in Haiti was one of the most revolutionary black moments in history. Now, we also have to look at, but you're a student of history. Let's go a little more modern. Wait. Let's go a little more modern. Look at South Africa. And last Father's Day, we mentioned Trevor Noah in the chat, right? Now, in the 25 years since South Africa was liberated, they ain't got right. Now, it's hard to ask a child, a baby, okay, you're free, get up and run. But I'm a baby. I'm only a few years old. I haven't even learned how to crawl yet, much less walk. And now you want me to run? Because the victory wasn't just freedom. Where I was trying to tell you the last time we had a discussion about reparations, you can give me land, but if that land doesn't have any minerals and can't grow nothing but dandelions and bullshit and tumbleweed, then that land is not going to be worth anything to me.
What minerals and yeah, I understand that though, my brother, but what minerals and all that shit, what are you looking for in land?
What I'm looking for at all in the whole scheme of things is the victory.
You're looking for fertile land that can grow shit and that's fertile. That's fertile. Or are you looking for gold, iron, or what? Minerals, what?
When I'm looking for everything. If I'm gonna get the land, I want everything. I want it all because that's where the value is. You know, they can say if we win the victory of reparations, what does victory look like? Is it a check? Is it land? And what about the end game? You know, if there was more money, if they could afford to give us 25,000, and they only give us 10, once the truck rolls out the gate, it's over. There's not going to be two reparations.
Can I answer your question?
Go for it. Go for it, bro.
Because, you know what? I look at it as inheritance. How many white motherfuckers you know that inherit shit and blow it? And you say, it's inheritance. That's our inheritance. So what? So
No,
they
that's
ain't
not my
getting no
point.
more.
That's not. I'm not trying to tell grown folks what to do. I'm just saying that if we're going for victory, if we're going for freedom,
I don't think he should get it because he da-da-da-da-da, and he da-da-da-da-da, or she da-da-da-da-da. So fucking what? Treat that shit as inheritance. So what if they blow it? They ain't getting no more.
right? And like I say, that's well and good, but is that victory, Spook? Is that victory for our people? Is that going to free us from the hand of white supremacy because we let Boo Boo the clown, Boo Boo the crackhead over here get $20,000 to smoke it up? I mean, how does that victory for our people?
First of all, he ain't getting no motherfucking 20 goddamn thousand to smoke it up. He getting land. So if he sold that land and sold it to somebody and they gave him $20,000 in cash, he sold it up, so goddamn be it. He smoked it up. That's his motherfucking inheritance. He smoked it up. Listen, the point ain't about what the fuck they did with it. It's theirs. The point is, it belongs to us. It's ours. It don't matter what the fuck we do with it. You own that shit. Right? That's what I'm trying to goddamn get at.
Right, and you're talking about reparations strictly, right?
Reparation, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Because when I look at freeing the black man,
see, they don't talk about how many white motherfuckers get inheritance and go glue that shit and waste their whole family fucking inheritance. They don't talk about that shit. So goddamn what? So fucking what? Is what the point is, you owe that to them, give it to them. Fuck what they do with it. That's my point. Case closed.
right, and that's fine. But there's been so many times where blacks were handed or fought for, not handed. We haven't been handed anything, but we get a so-called victory, but there's no actual win. Just like with Obama, we got Obama, but we didn't get a win for black people overall. You know, we got Obamacare, which helps more white people than it helps us. He went to the NAACP a few times, but he never mentioned reparations. He never mentioned empowering black people or trying to change any of these prison reform laws. I would say that black people are almost worse off with Obama than we were with Bush. So where we look at, oh, we got Obama, that's a victory. That wasn't a victory. So I'm trying to change black people's mindset on what we look at as victory. I look at Haiti's freedom. I look at South Africa's freedom. What good is it to have all the corporations shut down that have white board members because you don't have enough educated black minds to take over? Like I say, you got these people crawling for the past 180 years, and now you're asking them to run in the world economy, to run in the world's education level for people that didn't have a grade school education for generations. And now you're asking them to be CEOs of major corporations. That's not a victory. You know, the victory doesn't come with these one-off things like revolution or the civil rights movement. Would some people look at the civil rights movement as a win? Even white people say, what are you niggas complaining about because you got civil rights? That wasn't a victory, but some people call that a victory. You know, so I want what's best for our people. Go ahead, Spook.
No, I'm saying, what's this about revolution?
Say again?
Who said something about revolution?
Yeah, revolution. You know, it's happened. It's happened a few times in our history. But when we don't have the infrastructure,
it happened for a reason.
It did. It was because we were oppressed. The same reason, like I say, go back to Exodus. Let my people go. You can only be beaten, whipped, and work for nothing for so long before you get tired of it. And you uprise. You know, you want better for your kids. You want better for the next generation. And that can be done through revolution. The only thing is, as black people, as sons of Africa, we're not getting into the political game the way we need to, because we got to have political power. We don't have the corporate power we need so that when we make these major moves, we can maintain them, or we'll be ready for them. You know, I don't want to see Boo Boo the Fool blow his reparations, but it's his right if he wants to do that. If it's his money, he's entitled to it. You give it to him, do what he wants, do what he wants. But when I look at my people, or as a whole, I'd rather see them get education for life. At least that way, I know for a fact that my son doesn't have to go $300,000 or $400,000 in debt if he wants to become a doctor. We got a lot of young blacks who become doctors, lawyers, and start changing the way, so that way when we do revolt, when we do rise up, we'll have people to go in and be CEOs of businesses. We'll have doctors and lawyers. We'll have contractors. But we can't have all this land and not have somebody to work it. We got to have the tools. We got to have tractors. We got to have wood, lumber.
Hey, Slide, you think that's hard to do? What you do, Slide, for a living? I mean, you ain't got to get into detail, but what you do for a living, Slide?
I work for a non-profit organization that, not for-profit organization that helps people in the community. I would go into more details, but my platform is not safe for work.
That's cool.
Right.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And what I'm getting at, and the reason why I asked you that is, my brother, what you were just saying just a few minutes, say that one more time a few minutes ago before we say that one more time, what you were just saying.
I guess that we have to breed the contractors, the CEOs, the doctors, the lawyers, the mayors, the mineralogists. We got to have everything they have to function.
In order to create a nation, right?
Why is that?
I'm saying in order to create a nation, right?
In order to create a nation, in order to have our own, in order to have that Black Wall Street again, that Black Main Street again.
A nation.
Yeah. And that can, and we have communities out there right now. There's one community in Texas of wealthy black people who bought up most of the land and have a Black Wall Street. It exists right now in America. And there are prominent blacks, even in Atlanta, that own entire acres and acres of real estate and movie studios. But again, the power that's in these guys, whether they be Hollywood, NFL, military, fraternal brothers, whatever you want to call them, all my Q dogs, whatever, these brothers, if they're not pooling their resources to help our people, then, because that's something we can do in real time. And there are fraternities that do it. There are sororities that do it.
How you know they ain't pulling their resources out, though, my brother?
There are some that are. The Hebrew Israelites are buying land. The Muslims are buying land. For Muslims, the Hebrew Israelites are buying land for Hebrew Israelites.
So let me tell you something. You know what, like certain areas, for kids going to school, you got to pay for that shit, like breakfasts and shit like that. There's a lot of motherfuckers that provide free breakfasts. Free. Monday through Friday. Goddamn, every motherfucking week that the kids are in school, for that neighborhood, they provide hot breakfasts for them kids. Don't matter. It don't matter.
Right.
So, you have to start there. Start there first. You talking about all this other shit. Start there. That's where you start at. That's how you start. You feel me?
Well, like I said, it goes back to the kids. It goes back to training. Like, look, for instance, at the kids that used to smoke back in the 80s as opposed to now. You don't have nowhere near as many kids smoking cigarettes as it did back in the 80s. Kids used to smoke cigarettes in the bathrooms at the schools.
But that's our job, though. So what? They gon' smoke.
What I'm saying is, Spook, is that let me make my point. Let me make my point, bro.
Like I'm holier than thou. That's our job, my brother, as elders.
I know that, but what I'm
Okay, yeah, you gonna do that, but this is why you don't want to do that, because da 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 da. And tell them why. Don't just say don't do that. Oh, don't do that. Tell them why don't do. If you do this is what don't happen.
well, the point I'm trying to make, Spook, is
Our job as elders.
I
We
know.
ain't our parents no more. This
Right,
is a new
right.
generation, my brother. They failed. They failed. We got to pick the ball up.
Well, the point I was making, Spook.
New generation.
The point I'm making is
You know I'm right. You
right.
know I'm right.
No, the point I'm making is, and I'm not saying you're wrong. But I'm saying the point I'm making is that each generation learns a little more and a little more. And
Teach them, my brother. We the elders now, though. We sitting here, we got all this talk. We want to sit around and talk and sound like we empty. Dude, show me.
our parents,
Show me. Don't sit here. Oh, I listen, my brother. I've never been one of them kids that you can sit around and just say some shit. You know why? Because eventually I'm gonna call you a lie. I always did it. You got to show me. One thing I can say, I was shown. You had to. Because I'm gonna call you a motherfucking lie if you don't.
well, I mean, in that aspect, Spook, I was shown by elder Masons about how to be a good man, how to pick your brother up when he's down, how to take care of the family when he's not around anymore, and to be active in the community with these little boys, whether we just go take them to the big brother, big sister thing and have a thing with the Eastern Stars, or like I say, we have fundraisers for scholarships. So if you're talking about show and prove, I saw that through my Masonic family, my blood and my brothers. So I saw examples. I saw examples from the Black Panthers.
I'm not talking about, listen, I'm just talking man to man. I ain't talking about no group or no organization.
Right, but the examples that I saw set as a young man were being set by these organizations because the power in the black community is in the black church and the black separatist organizations. The Black Panthers, the Hebrew Israelites.
The power ain't in that. It ain't in that. Is what I'm trying to tell you. It ain't in none of that shit.
It's in it if it's being utilized properly. If these guys would utilize their political power for our people instead of just getting another term in office, then we're going to grow as a people. If these influential men got out of their egos, like I say, Farrakhan is a great man for Muslims. I'm not a Muslim. I can get in the mosque for a guest appearance, but they're not going to let me be in the mosque for real, until I prove myself as a Muslim. So they're buying land and saying this is what we're doing for black power. They're building schools and saying this is what we're doing for black power. But if they're only helping themselves, what good is it for the diaspora?
What's a Muslim? I don't know what that is.
I'm talking about members of the Nation of Islam.
Well, I'm not. And you heard it from the horse's mouth. And do you need me to repeat it again? And I can. I'm not none of, when I say I'm not none of what you sitting up there goddamn saying, all them damn groups you say, none of that, my brother.
But there's some black power happening in those groups right now. They're teaching their kids about economics. They're teaching their kids about economics. They're teaching their kids about white supremacy. They're teaching their kids real history, not whitewashed. George Washington never told a lie and that chopped down a cherry tree, Christopher Columbus bullshit. They're teaching their kids what they need to know to be empowered black people. So what is your problem with that, Spook?
I can't hear you, my brother.
I'm saying, what is your problem with what is your problem with these guys empowering? Huh? Yeah, loud and clear.
It's like you barely, I can barely hear you.
Sorry about that. I'll try to be as clear as possible. But the separatist groups are doing what the church is not doing. The Hebrew Israelites are buying land. They're teaching their kids financial responsibility. They're teaching them real history. What I'm saying is that doing it as a separatist group is not helping all black people. So if they're only going to help...
Why not? Why not? Well, I'm saying so you got Chinatown, you got Koreatown, you got Little Italy, but they can't have Nigga Town? Where they do that at?
Because you're looking...
They can't have Black Wall Street, is what you getting at. It's all okay if y'all just live together, blah, 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 and then come to work somewhere else and making money for somebody else. That's good. But when we come out forming our own separate community where we got money flowing in, we got own banks, we got shit, we don't need no motherfucking body. We self-sufficient. That's a problem. Where they do that at? What's wrong with that?
The thing is, Spook, we have black billionaires right now that have no interest in making that happen because they're protecting their generational wealth for their family. Fuck the rest of the black folks that are out here
So
struggling.
what? The generational wealth that was gained off slave labor, which you need to goddamn compensate motherfuckers for? I don't want to hear that.
I'm saying, Spook, that there are black people, enough rich black people. We still have over $1 trillion of spending power that we can use to empower ourselves.
We can form our own banks. All you got to do is, soon as they hit reparations, we get so much acres, them motherfuckers gonna become the banks, and they gonna lend to motherfuckers in order to build on the property. That's how that shit work, bro. That's how civilization gets started. But niggas don't want to do it like that. They don't want to do it like that. They too integrated. Oh, I'm sorry. I got my kids are mixed. They're mixed, and I got mixed cats, and they got no. That's not right. You know? Exactly. You too integrated. They ain't gonna fucking happen.
I think it's a broader issue than that, man, because there's a lot more black people out there.
My brother, it's simple. You're too integrated. See, Martin Luther King fucked y'all along with that goddamn, no, bro. See, yeah, you thought, oh, they just let us, no, that's on purpose, bro. That shit was on purpose. That's what they want you to do. To kill your identity, bro. To destroy it further. You in the end. You at the end of an age. They want to further destroy your identity than what it already is. It already goddamn destroyed, so they gonna make sure it's like, oh, we gonna just double tap. It's like a double tap. Look what that is. Look what that integration shit is. Think about it, my brother. How in the fuck a motherfucker that want to fucking they goddamn daughter and they wife all of a sudden say, oh yeah, you can fuck my daughter and my wife 50 years later.
Like I say, man, I think that
I'm just saying, my brother, I'm a real motherfucker.
Right.
You got to think. You got to think, my brother. This ain't no goddamn I'm smarter and who sound more intellectual than who, bro. This shit is about fact. Fact. And if you ain't got it, fuck all that. Fuck what you heard. Ain't nobody listening to you. It don't make sense. Yeah, you might sound smart, but you're not. Because I'm giving you the real shit and you know it.
Well, when you have
Real shit.
so many different black people from so many different regions, raised so many different ways, whether they be military brats, come up in a wealthy upbringing, or they grow up eating Vienna sausages on food stamps. Each group of those black people are going to grow up different. A kid growing up in Harlem or in Brooklyn is not going to grow up like a kid in the South. That kid in Brooklyn is going to be around the Moors, going to be around the Shriners. He's going to be around the Muslim on the street corner talking that black shit. Them Hebrew Israelites talking that black shit. That little country boy down in Columbus, Georgia is never going to hear that. He's never going to hear that black empowerment message.
How you know? How you know?
Because you don't have those kind of factions here in the South. The IUIC just got established here in the past couple years, and they've been around for the past 20, 30 years.
It don't matter about time, my brother. That don't mean shit when we talk about the Creator.
When you talk about empowerment, if you get a child to graduate,
Stop measuring shit by time, first of all.
if I got an HBCU graduate that becomes a doctor, what more can I tell that young lady about empowerment? If I get a young man that becomes the youngest mayor of a city, what can I teach them about empowerment that they don't already know? Young blacks right now, young black women are graduating at a higher rate than any time in history right now. So everybody, all these niggas just ain't dumb, deaf, and blind and just accepting what the government gives them. Between the Black Panther organizations, the Black Separatist organizations, and even some of the fraternities, they're putting in work. They're trying the best they can to educate their kids.
I never said they did. But don't goddamn try to group everybody into one group.
I feel like you're grouping everybody into one group. I look at blacks as being all different shapes and colors, and I don't expect the kid from California to talk like the kid from Brooklyn, to talk like the black kid from Washington State or from Nebraska. Depending on where they're at, these kids are going to have different ideals and different values. And it all comes from the parents. So, you know, if I teach my black son to be proud of himself, no matter where he's at, he's going to be a black king wherever he goes, and he's going to represent himself and his family with pride. If they're not taught that pride and self at home, then it's not going to matter.
Say, black king walking around, you're a black king. My son, you're a black king. Meanwhile, you're getting the hell beat out your ass in the street. You getting profiled. You getting goddamn white motherfuckers looking at you sideways, thinking you gonna steal their shit.
And at the same time, Scoop, we got more young.
What that mean? When you say you a king, what the fuck that mean? When I'm experiencing all this bullshit.
We have more black. We have more black female. I'm going to explain it to you, Scoop. I'm explaining it to you. I'm going to tell you. We got more black female graduates graduating school right now than any other time in history. That's a positive. That means they're learning. That means they're in them books. And then they're graduating from HBCUs, where they're being taught black history. They're being taught black economics. They're taught about the motherland. And they're going out there, and these black women are going to raise black babies that are also going to go get their education. So the revolution is slowly happening. Look at Alabama to vote last year. More black women turned out to vote than any other time in history, and they turned it out because they're tired. They want more for their kids. They want more for their husbands out here struggling. They want more for their men and boys than to be incarcerated, and they're out there putting in the work. And it's happening in communities all over the United States. We got Black Panthers right now running up on these Koreans and these Indian businesses for mistreating our women, mispricing the items, and selling our kids old candy, old chips, and old rotten food and stuff out of these stores, out of these dirty, nasty-ass Indian stores.
It ain't enough, though. You need more.
But it's a start.
So what you saying?
I'm saying that right now there's an awakening in America, and there's a whole lot of intelligent black people who learn from their parents from the grandparents from the 60s, learned from their parents in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, and now are passing along those ideals to their kids so that they understand the lies that they're being told by the government. They know that Trump is a liar. They know that Nixon was a liar. They know that Clinton was a liar. They know that they're all liars. They understand it. They don't buy this red, white, and blue apple pie bullshit anymore. These girls are growing out their naturals. These dudes are growing their dreads. They're getting in these books. But the only way they can satisfy their blackness is to be around other black people who feel the same way. So they go to the Hebrew Israelites. They go to the Egyptian Kemetic community. They go to where they feel like they're at home, but at the end of the day, it causes separation among us. So yes, what good is it if we got 5 separate factions working towards the goal, leaving everybody else behind? That's what I'm trying to say. The victory is where all of us are lifted up out of poverty, not just these 5 or 6 separatist groups.
Moses had a hard job. He did. He had to unify all them children that Abraham, specifically Jacob, had. He had to unify them all. He had Moses had a hard job. And we talking about coming out of slavery. We don't live goddamn slavery. I don't show you the power of Yah and the Creator. I don't show you that. I don't brought your ass up out of it, and we still got problems.
Harriet Tubman couldn't free a slave that had 3 square meals a day living in the big house. They didn't want to be free.
About them shit. Let's come up with the solutions on how to do it and stop goddamn complaining about shit and come up with the solution on how to do some shit.
I put my trust in the kids.
Complain so goddamn much. We ain't got this. We ain't got that. Okay, what do we have then? What we got right now? Okay, we got this. Okay, what we gonna do? Stop goddamn complaining and let's come up with solutions. Shit, I ain't trying to hear what we ain't got. What we got is what I want to know. What we got.
We have a handful. Every year there's an NBA draft, an NFL draft, a baseball draft. There's a lot of these young black men that have opened schools like LeBron James has, and also have contributed to different schools, organizations, like you say, these free lunch programs, these after school programs, raising money so these kids have something to do after school. And if that's one of your goals for your platform, then I'd like to see your practical applications as well. Like say, I have an opportunity through my Masonic brothers that if I chose to donate, I know the money's going to go to a good place. I know that if I stand out there and spend time with them out in front of Walmart selling raffle tickets, even though I'm not an official brother, I know that that raffle ticket is going to go to a good cause. You know, we have churches.
Please don't suit me into the other brothers. See, when I ask y'all for donations on my platform, I'm letting y'all know what the fuck I'm doing. I'll let you, and if you don't know, I don't know if you go on my platform regular or not, but ask my goddamn subscribers. They know exactly what I'm doing with their fucking money. I'm building a goddamn studio for them. That's what I'm motherfucking doing, so I don't need nobody telling me what the fuck I'm doing with the money I'm getting. I got a job, bro. I don't really need to do this shit. I did this shit because I'm helping people out. I'm helping some friends out, okay? That's why I choose to do what I do. This shit is all out of goddamn friendship. This ain't because I'm trying to get goddamn some money. I'm trying to goddamn get famous. This shit is friendship and principle. Alright? This ain't about no fucking famous and no shit like that. I'm well established. I don't need that shit. I ain't come up off that. let's be clear on that.
Okay. All right, because like I say, man, I mean, it sounds like you got a lot of pent up anxiety and a lot of and a lot of I guess I don't know, just this edge that I don't know if like I say, man, I try to see the positive and negative in all things, and I see black empowerment every day. You know, and I'm inspired by it, and it makes me want to do more. Makes me want to raise more money towards the Widows and Orphans program. Make sure that these kids got a winter coat for school, or even right now we got school drives coming up. We got kids that need school books, notebooks, pencils, paper, that are starting the first day of school and won't have those things. So I look at practical application, and I look at doing things that I can put my finger on and say, yeah, I did that. Not for the sake of bragging about it, saying, look at me, I'm helping my people, but just doing it because it feels good. And to see that smile on that kid's face. So yeah, there's ways that we can help our community right now. And you know, it doesn't mean voting. It doesn't necessarily mean paying taxes or any of that stuff. It means actually reaching down to pick up a kid that needs it.
See, that's the thing. We want to, let's stop with trusting other black folks. Can we do that? Can we start with trusting other black folks that live near you? Huh? Can we start with that? Oh, we can't.
I don't see where that's a problem, Scoop. Like I say, all these things that you're complaining about, you're complaining about complaining, but you're the only one complaining. I'm talking about practical application. I'm talking about finding real ways. I'm talking about accentuating the positives of our people and how far we've come. Like I said, we got a long way to go, but victory was not in the 60s with Martin Luther King. Victory wasn't putting Obama in office.
If you think that, my brother, please, if you think that we got there, we shall overcome, and when Martin Luther King died, we overcame. Niggas are free. We can date white women. We can date white women now. We can join sports. We're free. Hell goddamn no. Hell no.
Well, like I say, man, the United States is a very spoiled place. There's Eastern philosophies that we had as our ancestors that we don't have now. We don't have our diet, we don't have our knowledge, we don't have our roots. So now we're a victim of the struggle of whatever we were taught for the past 400 years, whatever we've been fed, whatever has been put in our spirit and our DNA for the past 400 years. Like I say, I feel just as passionate as you do, Spook, about my people. But I do feel like there are people out there that are moving towards financial responsibility. There are blacks out there that are moving towards political power. There are blacks out there that become more educated and making their communities better place to live, whether it be through the arts, be through sports. And if you've got any ideas to share on how to make that happen, like I say, I'm more than happy to give you the platform and share those ideas so that everybody can be empowered. Because everybody's not going to be a regulator, and everybody's may not be able to contribute. And I recently even contributed to the regulators. I donated. I used to be.
What do you mean used to be? Ain't no used to be with Mason. Either you are or you aren't. Because that's right.
Like I say, my conviction to my creator is deeper than any oath or obligation that I can give to a man in a building.
Well, I'm just saying, if you really are a Mason, you know they swear a oath.
Yeah, I understand that, Spook, but the oath I swore to God is deeper than any oath that I give to a man in a building on a Saturday afternoon after spending 3 months studying about how this fake story of Hiram Abiff. Like I say, masonry ain't gonna get me into heaven, Spook. Masonry ain't gonna get me into heaven. I don't consider myself a Mason. I know what you're saying, but out of my worshipful masters and everybody else, you know what they do? They still call me brother. When I see my boys, whether it be on Fort Benning or whether it be at a basketball game or whatever it is, when I see my boys, they call me bruh. They call me Bruh Jones.
But you're supposed to have denounced all that, though, because that's paganism. You're supposed to have denounced all that.
Who's to say I didn't, Spook? That's why I said I used to be. I wouldn't claim something that I feel like I'm not. You know, I mean, I'm not gripping my brothers. I'm not giving them the word. I'm not going to the lodge. I don't even have an active dues card. So with me not having an active dues card, I am not eligible for the benefits of Freemasonry. Therefore, I'm not a Freemason. Now, if I want to go back down there and pay my dues and redo my oath and be voted on, if they don't vote me back in, there's no way I can be back in. And they're not going to recognize me in no jurisdiction. So when I say used to be, like I say, yeah, I let my worshipful master know. I have convictions that are bigger than Masonry, and then they know what I know. They know what I saw. I'll never blackmail those brothers. I'll never tell their wife what I saw or their kids what I saw them do. I'll take that to the grave. So as far as my oath to my brothers, I take that oath to the grave. As far as my oath to Freemasonry, nah, I'm good on that. So I hope that makes that clear.
No, that's cool.
All right. Well, I do want to check in on the chat real quick before we wrap this up. And
You let me call in and shit.
no, man, you can call in and vent anytime. Just you know, I don't want you to get it twisted between my message and what you, I guess, what you interpret my message to be. Because I think we're on the same sheet of music, and for the most part, we agree. You know, we agree on 99.9% of everything we talked about. It's just that I do see a shining light every time I see a young black child cross that stage for graduation. Every time I see a young black child get born in a house with a mother and a father and a full belly, you know, that gives me hope that the next generation is going to be stronger than the last. Every now and then it seems like they're lost. You know, with the music, the clothes, the fashions, the talk, the way they act, you know, with social media and everything, they would have us believe that our kids are lost. They would have us believe that we're lost. But I have to believe that these people who came over here and had their backs broke for 400 years to build this country are made out of tougher stuff. I believe we're a little bit smarter. They put us on those boats to navigate from one ocean to the other, from people that never left their country. How in the hell did this little man from Liberia navigate a ship all the way across the Atlantic Ocean and couldn't even read a word?
You think that's impossible, my brother? So you think a black man can't do no shit like that, huh? Because, you know why you think that? Because your schools have taught you that. But don't you know how many times the earth been destroyed, my brother? This civilization that you see right here ain't been the first civilization.
The one thing I learned in Masonry.
Global. I ain't talking about no shit just over there. I'm talking about global like it is now. Globally. Connected. Interconnected globally. You know how many civilizations that been goddamn destroyed, bro? This ain't the first one. This the last one, though.
I believe Babylon the Great will fall. And I believe that America is Babylon. Because Babylon has not been punished for fornication, for tampering with the air, the water, the medicine, the children, that Catholic Church. Like I said, somebody's got to answer for that. Say again?
Black out of white. You can get white out of these. And what I'm getting at, this is a new people. These motherfucking people that you call white people, Europeans, they haven't been around that long, bro. And you can get mad all you motherfucking want to. These motherfuckers compared to whole time since the real man been here. These motherfuckers just got here.
Sorry if there's some audio issues there. Right. Well, looks like there's some other people trying to call in. So, sorry guys, I wasn't checking the chat. We got a little wrapped up in that. River Bend, hey, welcome to the chat, shouted. I didn't know you were here. Hey, love you, brother, and I appreciate the time. Shout out to the regulators. Appreciate everything y'all do, and I look forward to chopping up with you again, bro.
All right, appreciate it.
Peace. Now, one thing I don't doubt is my brother's love for his people. And that I can't deny. I just try to look at things from a glass half full, knowing that we've come a long way. We still got a long way to go. But I'm still trying to look at what victory looks like for all our people. So let me go back in the chat and catch up with y'all. Again, the call-in number is 605-313-5683. The PIN number is 212-734. Terry Seabrook says, peace to the fam. Let's not be divided by names, labels, and the gods that are not pronounced the same. We're not all from Africa. On those white folks' little boats, my folks were already here. Terry Seabrooks, are you Moorish by any chance? And if so, give us a breakdown of what it's like to be a Moorish American and your opinion on the topic tonight. Who do we have on the phone line? Hello, are you there? Hey, who do we have on the line? I'm sorry, speak up, please.
George.
Hey, well, you've listened to the chat, I'm sure. Feel free to speak your mind.
Yeah, you know, I just came from that Captain Tiffany and Wonder video you did, like a year ago. Yeah. I don't know, I appreciate you trying to see the truth, that's all.
All right, well, I certainly appreciate having you here, and I'd love to hear your opinion, you know, just, raw and cut, whatever you're thinking is the place to vent, whether you agree, disagree. Again, I love having you here on the platform. I really hope that you, that you subscribe and that you stick around for these chats. Well, right now, the discussion started with the disasters that are happening in America. Some people, from a more faithful perspective, believe that it's divine intervention. Some people think it's just nature. Some people think it's global warming. And the discussion kind of spiraled into, I want to say, reparations, issues dealing with African Americans. Spook and I know each other through his platform, and I visit his live chat 3 or 4 days a week, and there's different subjects that come up, so that topic kind of bled into what we were talking about.
You know, that guy, he's kind of smart, you know, like, I think even Eddie Christian said, two black people get together and kind of albino, so like, two white people can't have a black brain, you know? So he might have some, he might be right.
Well, I think love conquers all at the end of the day. And I think no matter what background you come from or how you're raised, that love ends up conquering all. You know, love for ourselves, love for our neighbors.
Yeah, you're right.
But when you have so many divisions in the black community itself, you know, you go to the inner city, you have gangs in the same apartment complex because one wears blue and one wears red, they're ready to kill each other. Then you have, on a religious perspective, you have 10 different black separatist organizations who are all going separate directions and leaving everyone else behind. Well, if you don't pray like we pray, If you don't worship, eat, dress like we dress, then you're lesser than. We're going to look down on you. We're going to talk about you. And until you step up to quote unquote our level, then you're going to always be lesser than. Now we hear that from white people all the time. Now we hear it, excuse me, among blacks who feel like they've made it. How do you feel about that? And what is your background, by the way, so that way we can have some perspective?
What do you mean, like my I'm a white boy.
Okay, and that's cool. And do you feel like that blacks are just being whiny, or do you feel like we have a point?
You can speak your opinion. You know, you can say whatever you want. I mean, it should be like that anyway.
I believe that too, but you know, so many times we've tried to extend the olive branch only to have our hands cut off. I've had white friends that I grew up with that would tell a nigger joke to their other white friend and then look right at me and expect me to laugh. So when you say again,
Yeah, people do that. Yeah, they do that.
right? So you know, when we try to live among whites peacefully, all of a sudden you get the Ku Klux Klan, you get the church, you get conservative Christians who say, not in my neighborhood. You know, these are people who claim to believe in Jesus, but hate us. So you get people like Spook, people like myself who believe that if we had our own area to live, to grow, to work, to worship, to raise our kids safely, with our own police force, our own judges, our own banks, that the problems that you see in the black community in America as far as poverty, lack of education, those problems would start to go away. The crime issues that exist in these areas will start going away. And you start seeing prosperity among black people. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah. I think so. You know, I also think that everybody, it's not, you know, whoever's like pulling the strings and stuff, it's not just anything, you know, everybody's involved, like, I don't know, something costing or whatever, but.
Hey, who came onto the line? Hey, Riverbend, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you here finally.
Hello. I was gonna leave, but then I started to stay.
Well, I'm so glad you called in, and I'm glad to have you here because you know my brother Spook, and you know his passion. And I don't want anybody to take his passion for, I guess you could say, a misguided militant, I guess you could say, because he seems like he's so fired up about his convictions, but and almost angry. Huh?
That's what America is. You're allowed to think like that because someone fought for your privilege to think like that. So just because I don't have the same viewpoint as Spook doesn't mean he's not allowed to have it.
No, and I believe that Spook's mindset is what is in the heart of the rebellious slave who refuses to get beat one more lick or eat another pig foot or have another foot cut off. You know, that are willing to fight back. But my question is, what does victory look like? If we fight, if we get reparations, if we have a revolution. Go ahead.
And that's the thing I think. Even though Spook thinks like that, and he's still, you know, number one in my book, whatever with friends. But I have, as you know, you might know, you might not know, I have a totally different view from Spook.
Well, tell me your viewpoint, Riverbend. I'm curious, not just for the sake of disagreeing with Spook, because like I said, I agree with most of what Spook was saying. Maybe not a method of going about it, but I do believe in his message wholeheartedly, 100%. And I can't say I disagreed with much of what he said, but I believe it's the method that I have a question about.
Exactly. I think Luke and I we agree on a lot of things, a lot of things we disagree, but that's what makes us good friends. As friends, family, and whatever, we should be able to agree and disagree on certain things. That's what America is for.
Right, right.
My thing is, I know one of the things y'all pointed out was the reparations. I have no problem with reparations. But what I do have a problem is what we consider reparations. Because reparations means to repair something. Such as, let's use Nazi Germany and the Jews and things, and or whoever was in a war. Reparations was paid to repair. Whether we blew up that country and we're repairing structural things, and we're giving you money to repair your building, or whatever it is. I'm just saying, the Indians, that was to repair. We took your land, so we gave you land. But in today's time, when that was given and then repealed by Anthony Jackson, that's no longer valid today. That's not valid.
That's why when I hear people say 40 acres and a mule, I'm like, that's not even practical.
I'm not going out there and I'm picking oranges. I'm not picking lettuce, corn. I'm not picking nothing. I don't want any of that. To repair something, to repair something. Therefore, I want you to repair my something. And the only way I see you repairing something is through education and other community things to help uplift that community. Whether it's daycare, affordable college, affordable. If I have some kind of mental disease, I'm just saying, bipolar, whatever, affordable medicine and stuff like that. How they joke us is through education and knowledge. And then it was care for our families. So to me, reparations to repair that would be affordable daycare, education, a trade, a tool. Because 40 acres in the middle, who do you know they was going to go out there, whether you live in Louisiana, in that hot sun and pick anything? Who's going to get their mule and go out and plow anything in these weather? I'm not plowing anything. I'm going to tell you that right now.
That's right, but and also, who's to divide up the land? Who's to say that you get the plot with the gold mine and I get the plot with the weeds?
Exactly. I don't want that. That's not going to help. And then once you get it, who's going to say that's going to better us anyway? And like the whole thing was, I don't care if you blow this. Well, I do, because we are America, and we need to start thinking about it. I don't want you bankrupting my country for no reason, because then where am I going to live? That's what happens to a lot of these countries that can't get back up on their feet economically, is because they went bankrupt and or through war, and they can't get it back together. We're not bankrupting where I live to give some crackhead some money to smoke it up, or some gambling person some money to go gamble it all up in Las Vegas. No, you're not bankrupting my company. Yes.
Because you know what, that's not repairing anything, Riverbend. And my problem too is that when you repair something, it has to be fixed and functional. And the one thing that was taken from us, the one thing that needs to be repaired is our minds. More than anything, when you lost your name, you lost your identity, your religion, your mores, your forays, then that takes a lot. And the only way to repair that is education.
And you learn, exactly. I wholeheartedly agree. And education for me does not mean college, because everybody's not meant for college. I don't care if you want to trade or whatever you want, but that's how you repair things. It's through education, and then the means to do what you need to do. Whether you need child care, so you can go get that LVN, or whatever the case may be. Whatever your skill may be, truck driver, your CDL license. If you need somebody to watch your kids, that's reparation. You're repairing that family to go on forward. If that person is a truck driver, he may be or she may be able to work enough to get their kids to be a tailor or whatever. I don't care what it is. So that's how you repair something. It's too many of us that have nothing. No career, no trade, no nothing. because that's what was broken at. So that's how that's the reparations I feel like you need, is to repair that.
And that's where I'm at with practical.
And yes, I do care if the government takes it or he loses it, because you bankrupt my country where I gotta live, to give him that. To what? For what reason? His whole family line is still jacked up after that.
Because right, Riverbend, because everything has a trade-off. How many free lunch programs will have to suffer? How many after-school programs will have to suffer? How many seniors will have to suffer without medicine for terminal illnesses to pay for reparations?
Exactly. I'm not going to do that. I will never vote for that. You'll never see me voting for that. I'm not going to vote to give every black person so many thousands of dollars or 40 acres in a mule. I'll never vote for that.
That's where I part with my brothers on reparations. Not that I don't think we should get them, not that we don't deserve them, but what does, and it goes back to my earlier conversation, I don't think you were here, what does victory look like? Because if reparations is the only victory, I don't see the win.
Yeah, for me, victory looks like preparing, education. It doesn't mean college, but you know what I just said, education means.
No, I mean trade school. I mean giving a person an honest chance at making a living to support themselves.
Exactly. It can be anything, whatever it is for them. But even if they need help finding out what it is, there are life coaches and so many different things you can find. If you have no idea what you're good at, there are people who are out there to help you find out what you're good at. You may not know, but they can help you find out what you're good at. And that's what I think preparing you. You thought you were good for nothing but this low level this. But once you repair that and learn, that's the same thing. If you're with a family that's exposed to a lot, like my family was, I know I can do whatever I want to do. I just got to have the drive to do it. But there are some people who just don't know that they beat up so much. So that's what you repair, that broken down spirit.
And if you put a monetary value on our suffering, you've just diminished everything that our ancestors fought for, because it wasn't about money to begin with. I mean, for them it was, but for us it was about survival. And to make it about money, I just feel like diminishes my ancestors' memory. And we get reparations on Monday, we'll be right back in the same boat by Tuesday as a people.
I'm not bankrupt in my country for us to be back in the same thing.
So when you talk about the ends justifying the means, what I want to hear, I guess next time we talk, Spook, or this subject comes up, I want people to tell me, and I might make this a subject of my next video, what does victory look like for our people? I brought up Haiti. We were free. What good did it do to be free if we couldn't run the corporations, to hire the people, to keep the farms going, to keep the plantations growing coconuts and food? What good is it if we can't manage it?
Right. I don't want 40 acres of a mule. I'm not paying taxes on that. What do I want a mule for? I'm not feeding a mule. I don't want that. That's not what's going to repair whatever I need to repair. I don't want that.
Exactly.
A lot of us keep talking about 40 acres in a mule. I don't want that. That's not repairing anything. Do you know how to take care of a mule? I don't. I don't even know what they eat.
Exactly.
I don't want that. That's not going to repair anything. What I'm going to do is probably sell it or give it back, and then whatever is still not fit.
That's it. And you got to think too that monetary reparations aren't going to help anybody but the white man, because everything that we got to buy is going to come from them anyway, so they're going to get the money right back. So again, we getting reparations on Monday, we'll be right back in the same boat on Tuesday. Our kids will still be miseducated, we'll still be in substandard housing and projects, and we'll still be getting the hell beat out of us by these police, and ain't nothing going to change. That's not victory in my eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Help teach us how to manage money. Help teach us about credit scoring before we get out of high school. and once you go to college and they flood you with all those credit cards and you don't know what you're doing. That's repairing.
So spook.
My parents taught me, and other kids, other white parents, and like I told you, my sister is white. But I'm just saying, that's what they teach. That's what I learned. Don't accept any credit card. Get one, and this is what you buy, and you make sure you can pay it. Make sure it's not this much of this percent, and make sure you do this. That's what I learned.
And when my friends,
teaching you how to be responsible.
I had friends that went to Morris Brown straight out of high school and joined the band and had 4 credit cards by their junior year. They were eating. They were eating pizza every night. I went to go visit them off those damn credit cards, and not only on top of the school debt. So that the ones that did graduate ended up thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, and still didn't have anything to show for that education except a piece of paper. That's it. So again, what does victory look like? Okay, well, we need to send our black kids to college and college and college. Okay. So they get that degree, they come out of school $50,000 in debt and still have to work an entry-level job for $10 or $11 an hour.
And then how is that 40 acres in a field going to help that?
I can't see how. I can't see how land.
I don't want that for our people. I don't want that for us. I want better. I want repair. Not that. That's not reparations. That's not repairing anything for my culture. Then, on top of that, I'm just going to touch on this, but then I got to go. But the whole interracial thing, this is where I differ from everybody else, and not to offend anyone, Black Israelites or whoever or whatever, I don't agree with this separatism thing. Yes, I'm all about my people coming together. Just because you have Black pride doesn't mean you hate other races and things like that. But my thing upon that is that you cannot succeed without help of other people. You cannot. You just cannot. The whole Jim Crow thing would not have gone without white people helping. I'm sorry. No matter how many black people marched on Selma, if it wasn't for the Jewish and the other white people that helped, we wouldn't have got it. It just wouldn't have happened.
We've
Do you
always
think the
been.
Jewish people would have won World War II without the help of the rest of the world? And just say, oh, we Jews are just going to help ourselves. We don't need the rest of your help. That's ridiculous.
That's where nations crumble, Riverbend. That's where nations fall.
You can't do that. We have oil in the U.S. in Texas and I think Louisiana. Do they have oil there? And let's see what other little states. But can we not? We can't do without those other countries and their oil. You can't do things alone. You cannot sustain a country without trade with other countries. So what makes you think just only as black people we can just take over stuff? That's ridiculous. And that's not what America was founded on. If you go back and you read the Constitution, really read it, and you go back and you look at what America is supposed to be, quote, quote, melting pot, yes, celebrate your culture. I celebrate being black all the time. But you cannot do that by shunning other races. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. The Jews would have never got out if they didn't accept stuff from anybody else. We would have never come out of the 60s without help from anybody else. No, Nation of Islam was not going to bring us out of that, and black Panthers by themselves.
You know, that black anger it reminds me of, I don't know how to really explain it, but it's so
it's just like the KKK to me. If you're going to be like that, you might as well be the KKK.
And
I'm just saying, the same teachings that black people, anger speech that's like that is the same thing as the KKK say about black people or any other race, whether they're the radical Islamic people, whoever. All of them have their percent that acts like that. And I think that's ridiculous because.
And then, you know, we got to look at what are the gains. Okay, I go buy all the guns, and again, I'm prior military for those who don't know, so I'm all for self-defense. I'll be the first one to tell you, invest in ammo. That's all well and good. But the day that comes that there's a riot, 250 cops come in your neighborhood and you shoot one, it's over. It's over for your neighborhood. It's over for the shooter. It's over for your life. And do you think the police are ever going to give you peace for taking out one of their own?
Exactly. And we need to stop with this mentality. Just because I like Asian people or I like white people or I like whoever, I can't think of all the different ethnicities. There's just so many of us in the world. Doesn't mean you don't like being black. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
We can love ourselves and others at the same time.
And yes, you can love yourself and be proud to be black and love white people too. You can love yourself and celebrate. I don't know. I'm trying to pick somebody. Indian from India doesn't mean that you're a race traitor or you're this. That's ridiculous. It takes
No, if I talk about Buddha or if I talk about Buddhists, I'm wrong because I'm not supposed to talk about that stuff.
Peter and Paul had that same argument. Because Peter thought that Jesus' word was just for a certain group of people. I'm just saying. But Paul said it was for everybody. They had that same argument. And if you want to get with the interracial thing and the race mixing, Moses had an interracial relationship, and Aaron got punished. It's in Numbers for him and his wife. I can't say her name, Miriam or whatever, trying to plot against Moses in his interracial relationship. You can't think like that. That's not what God, Jah, or whoever you call him, that's not what he wanted for us. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made us all.
Half the people in the Hebrew Israelites standing on the street corner guessing my ethnicity are whiter than me, and I'm light skinned. Got more white DNA in their bloodstream than me, and they'll stand out there and kill white. Like I say, all that stuff feels good. You know, I just shouldn't say that, but anger shouldn't feel good. But sometimes we've been angry so long we don't know anything different. It feels empowering, but it's really not. It's empty. It's hollow, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't have any practical.
It doesn't fix your anger. If you can't think past your anger will never go away. You will always be angry.
Thank you. I can't think of it. See,
that's like that scorn. That's like those women who are angry at their baby daddy or that boyfriend because you haven't repaired yourself. So you're always going to be angry at him. Anger is anger no matter what form it's in. If you don't repair it, it's not going to go away.
See, this is why I have so much respect for you, River Bend, because you really do stand out and stand up as a queen. And as bullheaded men sometimes, we need that balance. We need a woman's touch to help show us the more loving side of things. And the more I'm on my peaceful spiritual journey, I used to talk like Spook as far as black militancy, black separatism, until I went on my spiritual journey. And the more I got closer to Yah, the closer I got to my Buddhist friends, my friends from other spiritual and cultural beliefs, I started to find an inner peace that I didn't find with Christianity.
You can't live like that. You can't live like that. You can't live, and you can't think clearly like that, and you can't repair. I love Spook to death. I got his back on everything you want to do.
I do too.
Sometimes we agree on things, and sometimes we don't. These are the things that we don't, because we laugh about it. But I'm just saying that's just the way I feel. That's just my opinion. Now, everyone else here, this is America, so you're allowed to have your opinion. That's why it's America.
Right, and I totally respect his opinion, but I guess the more I started leaning towards love and understanding, and getting away from the mistrust and the anger, I actually saw that they eat shit, breathe just like I do. They don't want nobody to steal from them. They want their kids to have the best food, best education, and they don't want anything different than I want out of life.
Exactly. And you just sometimes it's not about what color you are. It's more how you. There's a game in America, and if you can play the game, you can get ahead. That's basically what it is.
And one thing I learned too, Riverbend, in a military environment, is that you don't have colorism. You don't have light skin and dark skin because you got everything in between. You got Korean American, Chinese American, Arab American, and these kids all play together. It's not until they come out into the civilian world and have this culture shock with all this prejudice and separatism and niggers and crackers and all of that. My cousins grew up on a military base, hung out with Jewish kids. They were mixed Puerto Rican and black, and it wasn't until they came to Columbus that they had a problem with black people or white people. All these years, all they knew was everybody was cool.
Exactly. That's like my sister. I told you that my sister was adopted. She's completely white. Her husband is mixed. I'm black. My parents are both black, fluent black people. But my husband's Cuban. It's all in how you were raised.
Right, and as far as ADOS,
If you weren't raised a certain way, you can choose to become who you are right now. Just because you could have been brought up in the middle of the KKK, but you can choose not to be like that. Even at 58 years old, you can choose who you want to be going forward. It doesn't matter what you've done or what you believed in the past. It's what you decide to do from right now and going forward with your life.
and if you live a peaceful life, if you live to help your neighbor and your fellow man, and live to make your community a better place, you can live a life of peace and not have to walk around with that angry chip on your shoulder. And if you're that angry, do something about it. You know, go out there and actually,
and help people.
there's kids starving out there all the time. I have people that drop off donations at the place where I make a living and everything, and they'll stand out there and pray with you. Black, white, it doesn't matter.
You can. If you don't like that your little brown babies or this and this, or your little white babies or whatever color they are, I'm sure everyone gets an hour lunch. Go to your neighborhood ISD and say, okay, I can go volunteer for lunch for an hour. Because teachers need a break too. If you don't like it, the Boys and Girls Club in every state, there is a waiting list. Why? Because there's nobody there to help the Boys and Girls Club. Go volunteer there. Don't say, oh, the Omegas or the Deltas or the whoever else is not helping. You go do it. If you're not Greek, then you go volunteer. You don't have to be a part of an organization to go to the Boys and Girls Club. You don't have to be a part of an organization to go to your local school and say, I can help with lunch duty. Then you go do something. You don't have to be a part of an organization to volunteer for voting, to help people run the voting lines or drive elderly to vote. You don't have to be a part of it. Then you go make the difference.
That's right, and I even challenge Spook with that. When you get your studio, Spook, show me what victory looks like. Not saying, okay, the regulators, my friends, help me so that I can put the message out. Tell me what the message is, because if it's going out killing cops and going assassinating government officials and this to take the country over, I don't think that's going to happen. You know, as much as I want to empower my people and we start the revolution, we can start the revolution tomorrow. I'll bring my guns, I'll bring some knives, hell, I might even have a couple hand grenades. But at the end of it, once the smoke clears, what good is it going to do?
Because everybody has good food that I like to take, so I don't want to separate. I don't want to be separate from nobody. I want to taste everybody's food. I want Polish sausages. I want baklavas. I want everything.
I totally agree. Like I say, one thing I did for black empowerment is I grew a garden this year. I became more self-aware about how to nourish my body from the land, and I'm going to do better and grow more next year. That way I take some of that money out of the economy, put it back into my own pocket, and invest in my home and my son and my son's education, and if I have anything left over, be able to help somebody less fortunate. Now, I don't know what more I could possibly do, by myself, unless I start a fundraiser, start a movement, something like that. But that's not easy. You got guys like Tariq Nasheed.
All you gotta do is help one person. That's it. Even if once a year you help with a lunch shift at a school, you've done something. All it takes is just one, everybody to do one little thing. That's all you got to do.
That's right. And I don't want anybody to be discouraged and think that they got to get a gun or they have to beat somebody up or they just have to walk around angry. Look, man, high blood pressure is killing us already. We don't need anything else killing us. We got cops killing us, high blood pressure, stress. We don't need anything else killing us. We have to find a way to get rid of that anger and start making it productive. Use that energy in a better way. And like I say, I'm not just trying to sound smart or sound articulate or sound good. I'm talking about practical application, real ways that we can make this happen and see improvement in our community. It may not happen everywhere, but you can see the improvements that you make locally. Or just have that one little boy coming from a single parent home who's ain't seen nothing but abuse and neglect look up to you as a man and as an inspiration to go on and do better things. I can't think of nothing more powerful than that.
And you know what? Just to be, I gotta leave in just a second, but I just want to say, look at it. Doesn't have to be. It's very good to see yourself. I love seeing myself. You know, a person like me on the screen doing whatever or whatever doing whatever. But it doesn't have to be. I don't agree with Bernie Sanders. We don't have the same political views. However, if you look at his track record, he's never changed, and he didn't have to help black people like he did. He could have stuck with just his Jewish people and done whatever he wanted to do. Well, look at that. So if we want to do this separatism thing, we would have never had somebody like Bernie Sanders marching for us.
Right. And I don't agree with him. I'm not a socialist either.
He was right there next to John Lewis, marching across that bridge. So if you want to think about separatism, think about all those people who would not be there because that's the way you want the world to be.
That's right. And we are, and you know what? Even if Jesus is black, his father, the creator, still made Chinese folks, Swedish folks, Australian folks. You know, he made us all. So if you believe in the creator, you have to believe that he created all of us.
You know, there were a lot of white people that were part of the Underground Railroad.
And they weren't calling us niggers or beating us. They were doing everything they could to try to treat us like human beings.
Get us to the next post. Yes, to get us to the next post and do it. And some of them lost their lives, too.
I mean, am I supposed to hate them?
Yeah, slavery wouldn't have ended without them. So I'm just saying, you know, we have to really think.
We have to put things in perspective.
But I'm just saying, just really think.
I can't stand Trump. I can't stand white supremacy. I think it's one of the most damning things that we have in our country. But that doesn't mean I have to be blinded by hate either. And that's the first thing. And I hate. I know you got to go. But the Hebrew Israelites threw me off with that, with the racism, because I said God is love. And if they call themselves representatives of God, how could they preach hate?
Exactly. And I'm with you. I don't like white supremacists. I don't like black supremacists. I don't like Arabic supremacists. I don't like any supremacists because that's all wrong.
We learn that shit from them. And then we stick our chest out and beat our chest and scream to the high heavens that we're kings and this is our world and we're entitled to it. Yet and still we sound exactly like them. No race mixing. I don't want my daughter dating no.
If you listen to them and you go get a KKK, whatever they call their little guide, they're saying the exact same thing.
The Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan and the Grand Rabbi of the IUIC talk the same shit out of the same Bible. And use Bible verses to justify their racism.
I can stand with Colin Kaepernick and still love my country. I'm just saying we need to stop thinking these stupid things. Like, it's just, I don't have any other word for it but ignorant.
I can't disagree, but I feel my brother's passion. I feel my brother's anger.
And how many people in Congress were actually black to pass the civil rights movement?
That's what I'm
If
saying.
you want temperature, that's why I said we couldn't have done it alone. And that's why I always stress to everybody, even though they think their vote doesn't count, voting is important. That's why you have to, that's how people get away with things, and if you don't pay attention, you have to pay attention where you live.
Look at Stacey Abrams and what she did in Georgia.
Thanks for having me on. My husband's looking at me like,
Uh
come
oh.
on, let's go now.
All right. Well, I don't want to hold you up anymore. River Wind again. Mad respect. Thank you so much for checking in, and I hope to catch you in the regulator chat sometime this week.
Yes, yes, yes. Alrighty.
Take care, dear. All right. Now jumping back in the chat. I know I've been on the phone line, so I may have neglected the chat a little bit. So I apologize for that. Eton, are you still on the line?
Hello?
Yes. Who do I have on the line?
Hey, you seem like really good people. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
It's very nice.
Yeah, I'm still glad to have you here. So we've run a while now, so we're going to go ahead and we ran for almost 2 hours. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get ready to get to a stopping point here. But to go back through the chat and get some shout outs. Let's see, we got Eaton So High. I want to thank you for coming. Terry again for checking in. Alicia Prince. Anybody looking for love? Nah, I'm good on that. Miss Z to you. Another regulator. Thank you for coming. Let's see who else we have. Fortnite God. That's one of my gamer buddies. Big Facts. So all the people that came in late, thank you. All the people that hung in for the chat, thank you again. This is fun. Again, I took a month off the channel, but I'm going to start posting again a lot more. So think about what you want to chat about. Hit me on the community tab. Hit me on my email. And let me know what you guys want to talk about in the future. Okay? So again, I want to thank you for coming by. And catch you on the next chat. Be blessed this week. Take care. And I look forward to seeing you again real soon.